Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I had every expectation this morning of doing a quick video showing the robbing that was going on the hives, and because it was full-blown robbing yesterday, and up to that point it would be a couple of bees at a time going in and out, and there wasn't really any frenzy of bees, and couldn't figure out why that would be. I would think that was if one bee went back to the hive and with the knowledge of free honey, that's the ultimate prize, and there would be full-blown robbing going on, but it wasn't the case. So I think maybe the trigger was we're in a dearth now here in Massachusetts. I'm just figuring that's what the case is, and so I'm scratching my head because I look out this morning and there's no activity whatsoever, and I'm like, well, can bees be full? I mean, there's no more room at the inn. There's no room for honey, and I go to look in the hive, in the nuke in particular, to take a look, and I had a full frame of honey, and it's completely empty. So it didn't dawn on me that you don't realize the amount of bees and how quickly they can make short work of. They started taking the wax out of the hive. I figured it was building up on the bottom, and they didn't want it blocking the entrance, although I had couple of entrances that they could use. So yeah, they stripped all the honey out of the hive is the answer as why there's not much activity. There wasn't any, and now a couple of bees are starting to show up. So I just took a look in the cellar. I've got a bunch of frames of honey that I'm going to replace, and I did notice a couple of weeks ago there were these little moths were showing up in the house when I had my reading light on. And I had an inkling that there was something, I should take a look at the frames that I had stored in the cellar. And sure enough, I had found a wax moth trail through the comb on one of the frames, and I stuck it in the freezer. And then I was just looking, I found some more. Not too much damage though, and I did find a full adult, I would assume, wax moth. So I squished it, and whatever I find, I put them in the freezer. Let's go take a look. Yeah, so the honey's stored pretty well since, I brought the nuke in the beginning of March when I saw the dead out, and then the other one was in the fall. This here, I believe, is from, I didn't have this before, this is from the wax moth that was in there. I squished an adult that I saw, and it dropped to the bottom somewhere in here. But yeah, I had a full frame of honey like this is really heavy, and it just really stores nicely, all sealed. But I don't have the time or the resources to get into. I didn't think about it extracting this honey, and so I thought I'd, I was hoping that putting these hives on the radar, I might catch a swarm, but here we are going into July. I think the likelihood of that happening is dwindling. And, I think this crystallizes at some point. So I might as well put it to some use, and maybe there's still that small chance that I end up... Oh, what is that? Is that a moth? That I end up with... Is that the one I squished? And squished it now. So that's what a wax moth. I don't know how. I guess, just like those bees early in the spring, which I'm kind of wondering if those, is it possible for some lone bees to hatch from that nuke I brought in? I don't know. I mean, could they just have been, I would have thought they would have froze to death, but I'm just questioning those single bees that got in early in the spring. But I figure if the wax moth got in, right, those honeybees must have been able to get in somehow. But yeah, I've got this honey, and I've got an old refrigerator with the freezer, and I just, the ones that I saw with, like this one here, you can see right there, it has a trail. I'll put this in the freezer, Yeah, so I've got this old refrigerator. Don't make them like they used to. Still going strong. So put that in there. Yeah, so I don't know, I want to do this slowly. I don't want to do it all at once, so put in a couple of frames of honey in the full-size box, and then the nuke, and get rid of some of this honey. Let's take this one to start. And I figure out there's one thing I want to try to do is, there's not much, but save the cappings that are on the bottom board, and then, I don't know, maybe I'll try making a candle. At least save the wax. So I think I could think of putting it in is that. I've got an old hot plate, but there's not a temperature control on it, and then I have to skim off the debris, I guess. So I was thinking, I said, well, you know, while it's being robbed, it's not necessarily going to be a good candidate for a swarm, because then they'd have to defend, you know, the colony while they're trying to move in. But maybe, you know, recent bee smell and activity in the hive will bring in a swarm when the robbing has ended. So you can see there's really not much. So there's really not much cappings or wax on the bottom there. There is a lot in the corner here. So I'll put a couple of these in here. Let's see, I'll remove a new one, I guess. So maybe I'll just well, there's enough. I don't think this matters. They can tell. There's honey in there. Okay, let's clean out this bottom board. Yeah, this was full. I guess what you're supposed to do is store these in a plastic bag so the moths can't get at them. So much for that swarm commander. Oh, there's a bee. Where'd the bee come from? So the bees are already all over the frame here. Can't hurt. I'm going to put some of this, I'm going to refresh the swarm commander here. So I can definitely say there's robbing going on now. Just put that pan on the bottom there because they're pulling out the wax and it was dropping on the ground. So yeah, both hives have robbing going on. So I don't know how defensive robbing bees are. See if we can take a look inside. Well, I thought about it and I went and put my veil on at least so I don't get stung in the face. I get in the back. Well, it's definitely bees inside. Wow, look at all those bees. You'd think I'd have a beehive here. They've it looks like the frames are empty. Wow, they made short work of that. They had 2 frames of honey in there, and they have, looks like, emptied them. I don't think I'll move them out, but I must have half the hive of whoever has this. I did notice that these bees are going in the opposite direction than the first robbing that occurred. Almost the complete opposite direction. So I think this is a different hive that's robbing this time than the previous time. Wow. Brings back memories of actually having a hive. I think I'll wait until maybe tomorrow to I'll wait until it dies down a little bit before I put in another couple of frames of honey. So this is New England gardening. Finally accomplished what I wanted to do, was start some robbing and then get rid of the frames of honey that I have. But I was hoping to catch a swarm. But at least they're cleaning up the frames. And maybe I'll make some candles out of the wax that I retrieved from all these cappings. This is New England Gardening. Thanks for watching. I don't know if I can just put this cover on without squishing anybody.